Detroit, and really a huge part of the American economy, entering a critical week. A strike deadline is about to hit for America's auto industry. Just over a week from now, current contracts between Detroit's big three automakers and the United Auto Workers Union expire. If a new deal is not reached, UAW workers are authorized to strike beginning September 15th. Among the UAW's key demands, a 4-day work week at full-time pay, a 46% wage increase, a share of company profits, and the return of full pensions. As of now, the automakers seem to have balked at many of those requests. A top GM executive just yesterday saying they would, quote, threaten our ability to maintain our manufacturing momentum. So the odds of an agreement being reached before the deadline aren't looking exactly good, at least right now, but there still is a week to go. So let's talk more about it and what the UAW wants and needs. And we are pleased to be joined now by UAW President Shawn Fain. Mr. Fain, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's a critical time. There's things you can't say in the negotiation, but can you give us and really America an idea as to where the negotiations stand at this point?
Thank you for having us, Brian. And, it's... we're down to the wire. We have 8 days to go. Unfortunately, GM hasn't chose over the last month to respond to our economic demands. We're still waiting. Looking like we're going to plan a meeting for tomorrow morning. So, we're pushing. We're available 24/7 as we have been for the last 7 weeks. So it's up to the companies on where we end up and whether we end up having to take action or not on the 14th.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, you have had a counter offer from Ford. I don't think you were happy with it. I'm not sure what you can share, but we'd love to know what they offered. You haven't heard from GM. Have you heard from Stellantis, which is the new name for Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep?
We had a counter offer from Ford. It was nowhere near meeting our demands. It was more lump sum type things instead of guaranteed wage increases, where our members continue to go further and further back. It didn't address job security initiatives, several factors, nothing to do with retirement security. Stellantis, really, we haven't heard anything as far as any response goes. So, like I said, they were playing games with us a week ago, and that's why we chose to file ULPs.
You've been a UAW member since I think you started as electrician in 1994. Is this how the negotiations generally go, Shawn, that a week from a deadline, you don't have 2 of 3 counteroffers?
Well, the unfortunate part is we've up front, we told the companies that we expected to do things differently than in the past. In the past, we pick a target. The company delays until the last week before the deadline. So they drag things out. The other 2 companies sit and wait. We've told all 3 of the companies up front before this started, we weren't going to do things the way we've always done them. The September 14th is a deadline, not a reference point. We expect all 3 companies to have an agreement by then, and it was in their best interest to sit down with us and get down to business from day one. They chose to follow the same path they have in the past, which is delay. They've waited now to the last 8 days to want to start talking. So we got a lot of work to do. We can get there. Our goal is not to strike. Our goal is to get an equitable agreement for our members. And if we get there, we'll be fine. If not, then we're going to have to take action.
Shawn, we've never met. You look like a nice guy remotely from here, but I've seen some of your talks. You got fiery rhetoric. You're blasting Eminem at some of your speeches. And you get the membership fired up. Do you worry, though, that some, like filing the National Labor Relations Board complaint like you did earlier this week, or blasting some of these lyrics with the fiery rhetoric, do you feel like that will cause a tension that might set the other side off?
Well, there's a tension already. Our members are fired up because they've watched the corporations make $250 billion in the last decade. As we've went backwards, we've lost money. They've made $21 billion in the first 6 months of this year. What angers me is to hear the corporations talk about how workers being treated fairly is going to drive up the cost of vehicles. In the last 4 years, the cost of vehicles went up 30%. Our wages went up 6%. Corporate CEO pay went up 40%. While these corporations have been making billions of dollars in money, in profits. So this boils down to one thing. It's corporate greed. It's not our contracts. It's not our members' demands. It's corporate greed. And that needs to change in this country. We need to turn that around.
You're not kidding about the price of cars, Shawn. It's something we talk about a lot, that 30% jump. I'm surprised it's not higher. Spent a lot of time in Michigan this summer. Got a lot of friends there on both sides. And do you see these profits? I worry that the profits and the price of cars was kind of a temporary pandemic supply chain related pop. Or do you guys, it sounds like you feel this type of price, a $75,000 pickup, is the new normal, and you're trying to ask for wages and benefits that are going to be based on those prices going forward? In other words, do you feel like you worry that car prices may drop?
I believe it's price gouging. I believe it's corporate greed, as I said. A lot of our members, that's what I want people to understand. A lot of our members can't even afford to buy what we build now because of the low wage and because we went backwards. That's why we want to end tiers. I just believe that, we hear a lot about concern for the consumer. We're concerned about the consumer. We want people to buy our product, but people have to be able to afford that. And to me, the companies, we can talk about supply chain all they want to talk about. I think a lot of this was an exploitation of a circumstance, and I believe that corporate greed is driving a lot of this pricing.
Yeah, and Sean, I think I'm going to guess, because we do speak, obviously we're CNBC, we speak with the CEOs, many of them, maybe the executives are probably watching this interview right now. What they will argue, I guarantee it, is that if they give you the 40 to 46% jumps, the profit sharing, that the price of cars will go even higher. Is there any credibility, or is that BS?
No, it's BS, and that's their common excuse. Everything that happens, they want to blame on the workers, just as in the economic recession. We never talk about the bad decisions that companies make, like when Ford buys companies for billions and sells them for pennies on the dollars. Bad management is what causes these problems, not the workers. And as I just said, the last 4 years, vehicle prices went up 30%. Our wages went up 6%. So our wages aren't the problem. Our conditions aren't the problem. It's corporate greed.